breakfast.
Kellogg has been a staple in American breakfast for nearly a century, but cereal consumption has been declining the past decade as consumers become more health conscious. Along with mounting lawsuits, a worker strike, and a plant fire, Kellogg's cereal business is struggling to gain a footing. In an attempt to rebound and re-strategize, on June 21st, 2022, the company announced plans to split into 3 separate companies. Shares jumped as much as 8% in pre-market trading following the news.
Right now is, I think, the opportune time to do this. We are coming from a position of real strength and great momentum.
So how did a company mired in controversy become the nation's leading breakfast brand? And can it successfully reinvent itself? The Battle Creek Toasted Cornflake Company, later known as Kellogg's, was founded in 1906 by W.K. Kellogg. Its first product, cornflakes, was marketed as a healthy, easy-to-digest meal. Kellogg spent heavily on marketing campaigns, and the company grew rapidly, selling more than 175,000 cases of cereal within the first year. By 1909, annual sales reached 1 million cases. Over the next few decades, the company began marketing to children with sugary cereals such as Sugar Smacks and Sugar Frosted Flakes. Mascots like Tony the Tiger quickly became cult favorites.
Sugar Frosted Flakes are great!
Kellogg faced major competition in the breakfast category, so it introduced new products like Pop-Tarts in 1964 and bought smaller companies including Eggo Waffles in 1970. However, in 1972, the FTC launched a case against Kellogg, along with rivals General Foods, General Mills, and Quaker Oats, for having established a shared monopoly over the cereal industry and artificially inflating prices. The Big Four cereal producers denied the claims and the case was dismissed. Convenient, ultra-processed foods were all the rage in the 70s. At the same time, parents and consumer groups were urging the FDA to limit the amount of sugar in ready-to-eat cereals. By the late 1970s, sugared cereal sales began to fall. Kellogg's tried to fight slumping sales by beefing up advertising and creating new products to appeal to health-conscious consumers. The company brought 3 varieties of Nutri-Grain cereal to market. It worked. By 1988, Kellogg increased its sales from a year prior by 15%, from $3.8 billion to $4.3 billion. However, the company began to lose sales to competitors and cheaper knockoffs. In 1999, Kellogg's lost its leading market share for the first time to General Mills. At the same time, snacking between meals became increasingly popular, and the company continued expanding with acquisitions such as Pringles and Cheez-Its. 9 out of 10 Americans say they've had cereal in the past year, according to 2017 data from Mintel. But as Americans have become more and more health conscious, cereal sales have suffered, according to Nielsen, a data analytics company.
Back in the early 2000s, we were seeing the initial decline of box cereal as we know it in the cereal aisle. First, we were just beginning to come out of that fat-free, low-fat craze where, all of the sugar cereals that were claiming, fat-free started to have consumers sort of question is this really that good for us? And then also we saw consumers finding the lack of convenience being an issue as more bars and other types of convenience-oriented breakfast foods were becoming more popularized.
From 2009 to 2019, domestic and international cereal sales at the company declined by 21%. While sales were declining, litigation against Kellogg's nutritional claims was piling up. Margot Wooton was the director of nutrition policy at the Center for Science in the Public Interest at the time.
We threatened to sue Kellogg over their food marketing to children because they were marketing a lot of high sugar, refined grain, unhealthy options, especially to kids. And so we ended up settling with them out of court, and they agreed to a set of nutrition standards to improve their marketing to kids.
Amid falling sales and consumers wanting less processed food, the cereal giant announced in 2015 that it would stop using artificial colors and flavors in its cereal and snack bars. By July of 2016, the stock reached an all-time high of $86.98. At the turn of the century, a number of studies were published suggesting that consuming breakfast, and even a sugar-filled breakfast, had a positive effect on weight and nutrition. Several were funded by Kellogg and other cereal producers. The Associated Press reported that Kellogg had been paying independent experts to positively promote cereal. The company created a breakfast council to help guide its nutritional efforts. Experts were claimed to have been paid $13,000 a year and not allowed to offer media services for products competitive or negative to cereal. Kellogg subsequently discontinued the Breakfast Council. In 2021, the company also settled a $13 million lawsuit in California over its marketing. Kellogg agreed to stop using terms such as healthy, nutritious, and wholesome to promote its products. Despite its sugar content, many consumers still believe cereal can be a part of a healthy breakfast. Keith M. Sador is one of them. He calls himself a cereal historian and is the host of the podcast Just Pour the Milk.
I don't think you're getting much more sugar in a bowl of cereal than most of the other treats you're eating throughout the day. Now, I do think in the 21st century, we are much more prone to be nutrition conscious than we once were, but I think coupled with other healthy choices throughout the day, that a bowl of cereal can still be a decent way to start the day.
The company has fought back in recent years. In April of 2022, Kellogg launched legal action against the UK government over regulation that would ban it from promoting sugar-filled cereals with buy one, get one free offers. The company said it measures cereals dry when they are almost always eaten with milk. A judge dismissed the claim, finding that the addition of milk would not affect the fact that the cereal was high in sugar. As a result, the company expanded its wheat cereals with 3 variants to comply with the UK's HFSS guidelines. As nutrition guidelines have gotten more stringent, so has Kellogg's effort to fight them. Kellogg is claimed to have spent about $13.5 million in lobbying efforts from 2011 to 2021.
And USDA is about to announce the first updates to the WIC foods since 2009. One of the expected changes is to strengthen the whole grain requirement for cereals, and Kellogg has been very aggressively lobbying against that.
Following decades of disappointing sales, cereal boomed during COVID-19. March of 2020 saw the biggest month-to-month increase of cereal consumption in U.S. history. Kellogg net cereal sales increased in 2020 by 8.5% year over year. Studies show that consumers are more likely to purchase cereal with claims like reduced sugar, added protein, or added fiber. So in 2021, Kellogg released a new cereal called Hi, Happy Inside, featuring prebiotics, probiotics, and fiber. Nostalgia may be another reason behind the surge in cereal consumption. Mintel research shows that 58% of consumers say that cereal flavors they enjoyed as a child are still their favorites.
One of the things that was very important for all of us who were shut in was to have some measure of comfort. So you've got your Lucky Charms, your Fruit Loops, your, whatever your favorite childhood cereal is, it gives you that bit of nostalgia. That's going to give some comfort and making a challenging time a little easier to deal with.
Despite the company riding on a high from surging sales, it still suffered some setbacks. In October of 2021, 1,400 workers went on strike to demand better pay and enhanced benefits. After 2 months, Kellogg said it would be permanently replacing the 1,400 workers who had been on strike. Following the news, politicians, including President Biden, stepped in to condemn the move. The company gave in to demands, and on December 21, 2021, Kellogg workers ended their nearly 3-month strike and agreed to a new contract. The contract included a $1.10 per hour raise for all employees. The cereal giant also had a 3-alarm fire at its Memphis facility that year. The company's North American cereal net sales dropped by 10.3% in the first quarter of 2022 compared to 2021. For the year, net sales dropped by 14% in the region.
Kellogg's has gone through a lot of change and a lot of turmoil lately. They had a huge setback with the fire and strike on the cereal business. You can see that in the data. Their sales were awful last year. They've lost a ton of share to both General Mills and to Post.
At the end of 2021, Kellogg announced plans to invest $45 million in restructuring its North American supply chain over the next 3 years as it meets demand for cereals. Under CEO Steve Kellogg, the company has made a few other changes, including transitioning its snack business out of direct store delivery and acquiring American Nutritional bar brand, RX Bar, for $600 million. It also pulled back commercial support for cereal in order to harmonize its pack sizes across brands. Kellogg has noted the sales declines are only temporary as the company recovers from its various changes, as well as 2021's strike and fire.
Kellogg's has gotten better. It's not gotten better as quickly as we would have thought, but the category has really taken off because Kellogg's is getting back in the game with its production capacity and because consumers are looking for the convenience that comes with cereal as they get back to work.
On June 21st, 2022, Kellogg announced plans to split into 3 separate companies: Global Snacking, which will be a leading snacking company; North American Cereal, which will house its North American and Caribbean cereal portfolio; and Plant, which will include its plant-based products. Shares jumped as much as 8% in pre-market trading, but closed up only 1.9%.
Right now is, I think, the opportune time to do this. We are coming from a position of real strength and great momentum. We have completely turned the business around from a top line and a bottom line perspective, and we see the next step in unlocking our full potential in unleashing 3 new companies.
The company said all 3 businesses will be better positioned to focus on their distinct strategic priorities.
The cereal business arguably is being spun off at the right time because it has such depressed margins coming out of fire and strike, and because of that, you're going to have a period where their top line recovery can fuel reinvestment, which will give that portfolio a fighting chance, even though that is a business that longer term has been challenged.
Snacking, including frozen breakfast and international cereal and noodles, accounts for 80% of its portfolio. In the first quarter of 2022, snack sales grew by 5%, compared to a drop of 10.3% for cereal. Kellogg said that the cereal business is expected to generate stable net sales over time.
Particularly the U.S. cereal business, which they're spinning off, is one that it's weighed on some of the parts of this company. The value of the company has been held back, and the growth has been held back by this business. So the company's thinking is that it can free up the company to focus on snacks and its other expandable franchises, the ones that could be stimulated for growth, and it could help investors focus as well on this business as one that has sustainable, profitable growth.
Over the past few years, cereal companies, including Kellogg, repositioned the branding of cereal away from a pure breakfast option to a dessert or snack.
Most of the cereal I eat these days is probably during what we like to call 4th meal, late at night watching TV. After the kids are in bed and you're just looking for a snack, instead of going for cookies or chips, have a bowl of cereal.
Nostalgic brands are being revamped. Kellogg partnered with Little Debbie on a Nutty Buddy cereal collaboration, and in September of 2022, Kellogg released a line of cereal that only needs water to up the convenience factor. While the cereal segment seems to be making a comeback, only time will tell if Kellogg's cereal business will have the resurgence it so desperately is looking for.